Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Frazer Clarke sort of broke silence really by giving an interview to TalkSport and came across as being, what he is, which is a real classy guy. I've always liked Frazer. I think in his interviews he comes across as being a sort of down-to-earth, salt-of-the-earth guy. He congratulated Fabio Wardley on his win. He was very dignified in what must have been an awful sort of experience, to sort of have that life and death struggle with Fabio in their first fight, and to then for the rematch to be over before it's begun. I mean, it must have been devastating. But Frazer came across as being. He made absolutely no excuses. Congratulated Fabio. He said, "Look, it's not over. It's not over for me yet." He said, "I was perfectly prepared, mentally and physically for that fight. I just got clipped." He said that he'll be back. He said it's never crossed his mind to retire. He said his pride was dented, as you would expect. He's a fighting man. He's proved that in the first fight. Don't forget, this guy, won a bronze medal for the UK at the Olympics. He's done us proud, and given everything. And I never thought that Frazer had world-class potential. I always thought his ceiling might be British, maybe European level. But nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, Christ, most boxers would, if you said to them, "Do you want to win a English title, a British title?" they'd bite your bloody hand off. And perhaps Frazer will drop down. Perhaps he'll go for the English title. Perhaps he'll go for maybe the Commonwealth. He did confirm that his jaw, he didn't mention a break to his jaw. It was commonly thought that his jaw was broken. In fact, that he said there were 2 fractures to his cheekbone. He was given immediate surgery. He was speaking, extensively. He wasn't, and it sounded like his. I mean, if his jaw was broken, he'd have been. His words would have been a little bit muffled, maybe. But no, he was talking freely. But he did have this. He did have 2 fractures to the cheekbone. And a lot of people will say, "Well, maybe you should retire now." And you're never the same after a beating like that. Yes, I think you never are the same. I think psychologically it's more damage than physically, because it's not like he was outboxed and beaten up. He just got caught and bang, that was it. I mean, it was a savage, spiteful knockout. But it's like that. It's done. You know what I mean? It's not, if you're beaten up and absorb an awful lot of punishment, repeated blows to the head and so on. That's worse than just being belted with, I know there was a salvo of punches, wasn't there? Let's say that 4 of those punches landed and did the chronic damage. I mean, buzzing Frazer, getting him in the corner, and then there was a second big right hand that sort of sat him down, or he was on one knee, wasn't he? He was sort of, and then he tried to pull himself up on the ropes. Yeah, I mean, come on, it was a bad knockout. But psychologically, I think getting over it will be probably more difficult than the physical recovery. The physical rehabilitation won't be too bad. And if he's a fighting man, and I think he is. I think he's proved that he's a fighting man. Frazer will think, "Well, I want to come back. I'm desperate to come back." He won't want to go out like that. So and as he said, retirement is the furthest thing from his mind. And he is only 33, which for a heavyweight is not old at all. 33 is not an old man. It's not young, but it's not really. It's not like he's. I mean, Beterbiev, look what he's just done at 39. Okay, you might say, well, that's an apples and oranges argument. But yeah, I mean, he said he thanked his partner. Frazer did. He said, "Look, if you switch off for a second, you can get clipped," and that's what happened to me. And he's learned it the hard way. And he said his team did a fantastic job. There was never any hint of making a mistake from this man, from making an excuse. He was absolutely. He said, I remember sort of giving vague congratulations to Fabio, and he said, "I'm all right. I'm fine. I'll be fine. I am fine. I'll be fine, and I'll be back." So I'm really glad to hear that Frazer's all right. I think He's a class act. We need more people like Frazer Clarke in boxing. Good, classy guy, you know. And it goes a long way. It goes a long way. I mean, he said he's in his prime. He said he's the most athletic he's been in his whole life. But because he behaves in such a dignified manner, people want him to succeed, you know. Whereas if you're too flat, I mean, you look at Ben Whittaker, very flashy, very arrogant, very sort of, at the best you could say, is a sort of Marmite character. But I mean, a bump in the road for Ben Whittaker, and suddenly everyone is laughing at him and hating on him. With Frazer Clarke, you want him to do well because he comes across as being such a good fella. I know which one I'd rather be. I mean, you should always be yourself. You know, the old saying goes, you know, be yourself, everyone else is taken. But I much prefer people like Frazer Clarke, to be honest with you. See someone I'd hang with, I'd have a drink with, you know, I'd have a laugh with, rather than, you know, being with someone who's all sort of flash and dash and piss and wind. You tend to think, well, they're a bit, do I really want to hang around with this guy? They're a bit up their own arse. But anyway, just a few thoughts. I'm glad that Frazer's okay. What do you think? Do you think Frazer should continue with his career? If so, who would you have him fight next? I would have him, like I say, drop down to English level. You know, maybe do the area English, Commonwealth, maybe then British. Because he still hasn't had many professional fights. He hasn't done many professional rounds. You know, the 10 against Marius Vac and then the 12 hellish ones against Wardley, still not that much for a pro fighter, for a pro heavyweight. So I'd have him go in the old route. You know, go after someone like a David Adelaide or I don't know, you know. I'd steer him away from, you know, the Moses Atamas of the world. not there are many Moses Atamas in the world, but someone like that. Don't go near him. Yeah, have him going after some domestic level fighters and then edge away into European level. That's the way I'd do it. But anyway, let me know what you think. Comments below, and please subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you could do that, that would be a great help. If you just hit that subscribe button, that would be a big help. And you know, that little like button, give that a click as well, because they count them. So I'm told. I'm looking forward to reading what you got to say, like I always am. I'll answer as many as I can. I get so many comments, I don't get a chance. In the old days, when I had about 200 subscribers, I could answer every comment. But now I can't because there's just too many. But I do appreciate you leaving comments, and I do read them. So please carry on doing that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for all your support, and I will catch you later. Bye for now.